Hey guys, this is Mr. H. Hey, I wanted to just go through the divisibility rules here in case it doesn't make sense to some of you. So here's what we got. I'm going to go through the ones that I have. I did these for my son a few years ago to kind of help him understand divisibility. But I kept it because I think a lot of students just never learn them. So if you have any number, you know the number is divisible by 2 if the last digit is even. So anything that has a 0, why can't I write? Anything that has, oh, come on. Oh, that's why. Anything that has 0, oops. Anything that has 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, anything that ends with those numbers is going to be divisible by 2. Okay, that's simple. Now, any number is divisible by 3 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. So let me give you an example. Let me turn over here. So if I say it's 66 divisible by 3, you would say, well, 6 plus 6 is equal to 12. 12 is divisible by 3, so that means that 66 is divisible by 3. If I said, what's 105 divisible by 3? You would say, well, if you add up all of these digits, 1 plus 0 plus 5, that's equal to 6. And 6 is divisible by 3, so this number is also divisible by 3, and I'll show you. You would go 3, 9, 15, 5. So and when it needs to be divisible, it just means that when you divide that number, divide the number by whatever the number that you're trying to test for divisibility, if it doesn't have any decimals or any remainders, it's divisible. It has to be an integer, basically, when you divide it. Okay, so, okay, let's go back. 4. 4 is divisible. Any number is divisible by 4 if the last 2 digits of the number are divisible by 4. So let me give you an example. So if I said 1,044, is that number divisible by 4? Absolutely, because the last 2 numbers, the last 2 digits are divisible by 4. So that means this whole number is divisible by 4. How about this? 5,824. Is that number divisible by 4? Absolutely, because the last 2 digits are divisible by 4. So 24 is divisible by 4, so that means this whole number is divisible. That's the rules. So whenever you have a number, if you want to know if it's divisible by 4, just look at the last 2 digits, and if the last 2 digits are divisible by 4, then the whole number is divisible by 4. Okay, let's go back. All right, so now 5 is a simple one. In fact, I'm going to do 5 and 10 together. 5, any number is divisible by 5 if the last digit is either 0 or 5. That's it. Any number that ends with a 0 or 5 is divisible by 5. And any number that ends with a 0 is divisible by a 10. Okay, these two are kind of similar. So any number that ends with a 5 or 0 is divisible by 5. And any number that ends with a 0 is divisible by 10. Okay, that's it. That's the rules. Now 6 is a combination of 2 rules. It says any number is divisible by 6 if that number is divisible by 2 and divisible by 3. So remember, it has to be even and the digits have to be divisible. When you add up all the digits, it has to be divisible by 3. So let's look at an example. Here, let me get rid of this. Let me come up with something. Actually, let's use these numbers and see. All right, so 5,824, is that divisible by 6? Well, it's definitely divisible by 2. Okay, that works because it's an even number. Now, to find out if it's divisible by 3, we have to add up all the digits. So this would be 5 plus 8 is 13, 13 plus 2 is 15, 15 plus 4 is 19, and 19 is not divisible by 3. So this number is not divisible by 6, not divisible by 6. Okay, now let's look at this one here. It says 1,044. Okay, so now it is definitely divisible by 2 because the last digit is a 4, which is an even number. And then we just have to add up all the digits. So 1 plus 0 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. 9 is divisible by 3, so this number is divisible by 6. So that's how you do it. So it's divisible by 3, it's divisible by 2, so it must be divisible by 6. All right, that's how you do it. Okay, let me click off of this, go back here. And the last one is a number is divisible by 8 if the last 3 digits are divisible by 8. So basically, you just have to take the last 3 digits and divide it by 8. Another way that I say this is if you can take that number and split it in half 3 times and have integers every time, then the number is divisible by 8. So let me give an example. Come on. All right, so let's get rid of this stuff, come up with some new. All right, so 200, is that divisible by 8? All right, so they said if the last 3 digits are divisible by 8, then it is. But here's what I would say. If you can divide this in half, so that's 100. So that's an even number, that's an integer. And if you can divide 100, that's 50. And then if you can divide 50, that's 25. So if you can divide it 3 times and get an integer, then the number is divisible by 8. That's how I do it. So if you can take the number and split it into half and every time come up with an integer, then that means the number is divisible by 8. That's how I do it. Another way of saying it is if I have a number, let's say 1 million, 1 million, let's say 200, boom. Or let's say 10,200,000. Is that divisible by 8? Well, if you look at the last 3 digits, if that's divisible by 8, and we know that that is, because we just proved it, then that means this whole number is divisible by 8. That's it. That's the rule. But if you have a number that just has 3 digits or fewer than 3 digits, I do can you divide it in half 3 times and have integers, and that's your rule. I hope that makes sense, but that's the rule. All right, and 9 is the same or similar to 3. If you add up all of the digits and that sum is divisible by 9, then the number is divisible by 9. So I'll give you an example of that, and then this will be it. All right, so I'm going to say 981. So is that number divisible by 9? It is. And the reason that I know that is if I add up all of these numbers, 9 plus 0 is 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. 17 plus 1 is 18. And 18 is definitely divisible by 9. So because the sum is divisible by 9, that means this number is divisible by 9. And it's a pretty easy number to check. All right, that's the divisibility rules. I hope this makes sense. It really helps when you're trying to simplify things or if you're trying to know if something is divisible. But at the end of the day, if you don't remember the divisibility rules, you can always use your calculator. All right, that's it. Gonna post this